Welcome back to another episode of Geeky and Analysis. This week, we'll be exploring the extensive and rather confusing timeline of the Doctor's wife and killer, River Song. Enjoy! Now, before we get started, I would just like to note that any content to feature River outside of televised media, such as Big Finish books and games, will not be included as I haven't touched any of her expanded media content yet. Please bear that in mind. Thanks. River Song's timeline is something of much confusion to many, especially on first watch. It's all jumbled up. Insert the timey-wimey quote here.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
The older the Doctor is, the younger River gets. Well, mostly. Or vice versa, depending how you look at it. So, let's get into this one heck of a timeline. After the universe had been rebooted and Amy and Rory had gotten married, River was conceived. She was conceived aboard the TARDIS during a flight in the time vortex. It was several months after this, presumably the usual 9 months, that River was born, under her given name of Melody Pond. She was born in the 52nd century after Amy went into labour aboard Demon's Run, the secret asteroid base of the Kavarian chapter, and likely a temporary residence for the Headless Monks. It was here that River was kidnapped by Madame Kavarian and slowly programmed over time to become the ultimate weapon and kill the Doctor before being taken to an orphanage for a few years. Melody was taken through time and placed in the horror-like orphanage of Greystock Hall Orphanage at some point prior to 1969. She was somewhere between 5 and 7 years old here, meaning she was placed in the orphanage between 62 and 64. Anyway, it was in 1969, a few weeks or so prior to the Apollo moon landings, that she began phoning President Nixon, wherever he was, and telling him that she was scared of the spaceman, whose identity was unknown to Nixon as well as the FBI. It was in 1969 that Amy first encountered and shot Melody. This was in Florida. However, Melody survived. 6 months later, likely early autumn, Melody had made her way to New York City somehow. She was sleeping rough and had developed a nasty cough, likely caused by some sort of cold or potentially the flu. Regardless, she was dying. This was expressed to a homeless man in an alley near 44th Street. The man was desperate to help, or at least try. Melody said she could sort it herself and began to glow. The man fled in terror moments before she exploded into an amber beacon stretching side to side of the alley. Melody was regenerating. Decades after regenerating, Melody made her way to Ledworth somehow and befriended Amy and Rory, becoming their best friend. Amy and Rory grew up with Melody, who was under the alias of Mel's, oblivious of the fact that they were side by side with their own daughter. Melody grew up to be a reckless individual. She was always getting in trouble at school and eventually ran into trouble with the police. This was likely her programming kicking in, unknown to her. This recklessness led to her to force Team TARDIS, i.e. the Doctor, Amy and Rory, to go to Berlin 1938 and kill the rising leader of Germany. Here she was shot. This time, Melody regenerated, revealing to the Doctor, Amy and Rory, that Amy and Rory had been living alongside their daughter since childhood. Mel's regenerated into River Song. The first hours of post-regeneration caused the Doctor to almost die at River's hands. Her programming had fully kicked in. Melody, yet to be named River, tried killing the Doctor in any way she could. River tried using 2 pistols, Mel's and the German leaders, on the Doctor. He saw that coming, either removing the bullets or replacing the gun for something else. However, he failed to foresee the use of lipstick induced with poison from a Judas tree. Melody kissed the Doctor on the lips, poisoning him. This poison could only be stopped by regeneration energy. However, it could sterilize the Doctor of any regeneration energy he had, meaning it would be a slow, painful death for the Time Lord. Later on, after Melody escaped into Berlin and stole the clothes of some patrons, She changed her ways. The Doctor convinced her to. She saved Amy and Rory from the rogue antibots aboard the Tesselector, a time-space machine piloted by miniaturized people with the intention of harming unpunished criminals from history. They were in Berlin with the aim of punishing the leader at the time. However, they were too early, but became distracted with a secondary objective after realizing the woman who killed the Doctor was present in 38. Anyway, it was here that River saves a now dead Doctor. She transforms into River Song with the help of Amy and Rory, who convinces her it'll be worth it. River gives the Doctor all of her remaining regeneration energy. Afterwards, River is taken to the greatest hospital in the universe, known as the Sisters of the Infinite Schism, where she was to recuperate after sacrificing the rest of her potential lives in order to save the Doctor. The Doctor gifts River a TARDIS blue diary with the right amount of pages she would need. In the Lunar University, River is studying archaeology when Madame Kavarian, who had been searching for River for a while, and the silence had River drugged. She's then dressed into the Apollo astronaut suit, the same spacesuit of the spaceman who haunted her in 1969, with the aim of killing the Doctor at Lake Silencio in Utah. The Kavarian chapter placed her there in 2011. River broke time the moment she was supposed to kill the Doctor. It was said that the Doctor's death at Lake Silencio was a fixed point in time, and with it broken, time collapsed, and everything was happening at once. The Roman Empire, Charles Dickens, pterosaurs, Winston Churchill, and the Silurians all coexisted at once, in the same minute of 5:02 p.m. She broke time as she couldn't bring herself to kill the Doctor. Time was repaired when the Doctor married River at the top of the Great Pyramid. It was here the Doctor revealed to her that he was actually a fake Doctor and was actually the Tesselector. This made the fixed point in time the destruction of the Tesselector, not the death of the Doctor. This was unknown to the Silence at the time. This meant life imprisonment for River, regardless of whether she knew the Doctor's secret or not. River was present at Lake Silencio again. She was there folding back on her timeline alongside Amy, Rory and Canton Delaware III, and present to watch her past self kill the Doctor. After the climax of the Battle of Demon's Run, which left the Doctor's side defeated and Melody kidnapped by Madame Kavarian in spite of their best efforts, River arrived. The Doctor was initially livid that she was late to the battle. However, she explained why. The Doctor took this in and left Demon's Run, determined to find Melody. River then tells Amy and Rory who she is. She's Melody. River was there when the Pandorica opened. She was the one to warn him about it, specifically its results. The TARDIS exploding and the universe collapsing as a result. The message she left for the Doctor was through a painting conjured up by Vincent van Gogh. The painting was of the TARDIS exploding. In the end, the TARDIS did explode as the Doctor was trapped in the Pandorica by a coalition of his greatest enemies and River was trapped in a time loop aboard a burning TARDIS. The Doctor did eventually resolve this in an alternate 1990s, where he restarted the universe by firing the Pandorica into the heart of the explosion. Everything, including the Doctor, Amy, Rory and River, survived the incident and wound up in the rebooted universe, where their lives were slightly different but remained all the same. The crash of the Byzantium was the first time the 11th Doctor and Amy would meet River. Well, this was the first time for the Doctor's current incarnation, but certainly not the first meeting for River, be it with the Doctor or Amy. The trio were on an Earth colony of Alpha Metraxis, watched over by the military-like force known as the Church. They were investigating a supposed last of the Weeping Angels, who resided on the planet. This led the Doctor, Amy, Rory, and much of the Church to the underground, cave-like labyrinth known as the Maze of the Dead. Many decaying angels lived in there, and began hunting the maze's visitors in order to survive. They stole vocal cords of some of the soldiers and snapped their necks, all while having an image of an angel placed in Amy's eye. Much of this was resolved by the Doctor, who had the angels thrown into a crack in time that was present on the planet. He and Amy then left, while River made her way back to Amy and Rory's back garden. The married couple were still grieving the loss of the Doctor. 'Twas here that River revealed the Doctor had in fact survived his death, to which Amy and Rory were overfilled with joy. River Song is now investigating several disappearances in 1930s Manhattan, under the alias of Melody Malone. The Doctor, Amy and Rory turn up in the same time period, with the foursome battling the Weeping Angels in the process. However, Amy discovers that they're following the storyline of Melody Malone, a book she'd been reading. Amy had been looking into the latter half of the book for answers. There, Amy discovered she would die, along with Rory. This did indeed happen, twice, once in the 1930s and again in 2012. The first time was suicide, in which they jumped from a hotel in order to kill the Weeping Angels. The second time was by a single Weeping Angel, which sent the pair back to the past. Both deaths were witnessed by the Doctor and River. The Doctor was devastated. River was the same. However, River recuperated from the incident far quicker than the Doctor. She even wrote a book exploring the incident, being Melody Malone. She had Amy write an afterword, with it being directed specifically towards the Doctor. Encountering the 12th Doctor only once, River fought the King Hydroflax alongside him. However, for the majority, River has no idea who the 12 is. This time, the Doctor had the upper hand. At last! They were present alongside future companion Nardole, who was the comic assistant to River. After the Starliner they were on crash-landed on Beryllium, specifically a few years later, the Doctor took River on a night out to see the Singing Towers. They address the first time the Doctor meets River, and she was gifted a sonic screwdriver of her own. A night on Beryllium lasted 24 years, which was enough time for the duo to spend together before River was destined for the library. River's song accompanies a group of individuals whose goal was to see what happened in the library, which is the largest database in the 51st century. This came after everyone present on the planet disappeared. The Doctor and Donna were present. The Doctor met River for the first time here. However, this was the last time River would meet the Doctor. The pair fought the Vashta Nerada, and River revealed the Doctor's name to him, whispering it in his ear. He has no idea why he'd give her his own name. However, River died here. She sacrificed herself to save everyone trapped in the library's database. This included Donna. However, the Doctor saved River. He had her consciousness uploaded to the database's library, where she would spend the rest of her life in a digital heaven of sorts. Accompanied by Clara, the Doctor travelled to Trenzalore, where his greatest secret would be revealed. That was his name. He battled the Great Intelligence alongside the Paternoster gang and witnessed by the ghost of River Song, who was telepathically linked to Clara since their space-time conference with Jenny, Vastra and Strax. She had escaped the library's database for a few hours. This was where she finally said goodbye to the Doctor properly before returning back to the library's extensive database. At last, we've reached the end of the video. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and like normal, make sure to like and share the video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss a video. Also, make sure to check out my Instagram and Twitter too. The links to both shall be in the description. However, that's up to you. I hope to see you in next week's video, and until then, bye!